Hello, we are speaking with Ingrid Hankala today. She is a Ph.D. marine biologist, former NASA oceanographer, and has experienced a near death experience and multiple transformative experiences. And we are so excited to talk to her today. Welcome to our show, Ingrid.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor.
Thank you.
Mm.
So we did watch some other footage that you shared, and we just can't wait to hear this story firsthand. So where would you like to start? When you were a tiny baby,
Yes.
I imagine, because
Because
that's how it all began.
your experience happened pretty early in life.
Yeah.
That's just exactly how the whole thing began. I mean, that would pretty much define the rest of my life. And yeah, it all started with a near death experience I had when I was close to 3 years old. And I was born and raised in Bogota, Colombia. And there I was living with my parents and my sisters. And my parents had to go to work very early, and they would leave us at the care of a maid. And this lady was just a person that was, when my parents were not around, she would really not pay attention to what we were doing or anything. And then my parents left, and she went to listen to soap operas. And my oldest sister and I decided, let's go play in the patio. She was going to just be 4 years old, and I was close to three, as I mentioned. And the danger in this patio, that there was a tank, and it was a big tank with a purpose of collecting water for hand washing clothes. And then my sister and I went to the patio, saw a ball, and decided, oh, let's play cash across the tank.
Oh my goodness.
And this tank held about 900 gallons of water, so it was a pretty big one.
God.
And then we climbed, because it was a high, the walls were high. We climbed the walls, and then she sat on the surface, that the flat surface for scrubbing, so she was a little safer. Then I went on to the other side. It was a thin edge, and I just bended my legs there. It was like leaning very precariously in this tank, but we're like, hey, we're having fun, thinking about any danger. And then my sister threw the ball, and she didn't apply enough force, and the ball fell on the water, and it was floating. Then I thought, oh, I can grab it. And then I leaned forward, and the moment I touched it, it rolled, and I lost my balance and fell in the tank. At this age, I had never been in a pool, and I would live in the mountains, high up in the Andes. There was not really like any access to like a pool or anything like that. And we didn't have a bathtub either. So I never had my head under the water. So I didn't know that if you fall in the water, you drown. So the first thing was the impact of the water being frigid cold. Because again, Bogota's high up in the Andes, the temperature in this water, 6 in the morning, I imagine, was about, I don't know, 30, 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So the first impact was like, this water was frigid cold. And then imagine when you fall into this cold water and now you want to catch your breath. It was the sense of like, why I cannot breathe. So it was this huge shock, why I cannot breathe. And now I was experiencing the state of absolute terror. And when I'm like experiencing this horror, it just happened like that I went from this state of, oh, imagine the anguish, the horror, to, I didn't have to breathe. I didn't have to escape. I didn't have to go anywhere. It was just like, I don't know what happened, but I am in this absolute peace. I was just like serenity and calmness. And many people ask me, like, Ingrid, how can you remember this if you were so young? And I'm like, oh, there's just a lot of reasons why I can remember. First, like I just mentioned, a very traumatic experience. And then I mentioned the fact that there was a lot of contrast. In which sense, first, the tank was a very dark space. So the last thing I saw with my eyes open was the darkness of this enclosed space. And when I entered in that state of peace and joy, the first thing I saw was light.
Mm.
And it was a light that came from below. And it was like, oh, now there is light. So imagine when you're like in horror, in darkness, and now there's peace and light. The other contrast is that before I drowned, I could hear my heart beating in my chest. Like imagine when you're so scared and this heart is like boom, boom, boom,
Right.
boom, and I could hear it in my head like a drum. Done. It was completely quiet, silence. So this is the other thing. It was, I call it the silence behind the silence. And why is also so clear in my mind, because that it didn't end there. I craved that silence for the rest of my life. So after the near death, I will hide in closets. I will go under the beds. I will go into chapels. I wanted that silence back because it was a silence that came with peace. Imagine just this peace. And then imagine now I am in this peace, this silence, this light. And the first thing I saw was bubbles. After the light, bubbles that were, and these bubbles were surrounded by light. And now I'm like, what is this? And then it was by turning around and chasing those bubbles that I saw my body.
Oh.
So now it's this other thing. Imagine like, whoa, now I see this body and the expression in the face, the eyes were open. And then I'm looking at, but immediately I'm like, wow, that is my body. I had that knowing, that clarity, that is my body. And it didn't feel like something scary. It didn't feel like, it kind of felt like familiar. Like, oh, yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, that was me. Now it's not.
That's my body, yeah. And then this come now come the next contrast. And is that I was born as a very sick child. And people sometimes will wonder, oh, but a child, how, I mean, being sick, that's so sad. But in my case, that had a purpose. And the purpose was that if I was born as a very healthy and I was experiencing well being, maybe it would have been very hard to remember because you go from well being to well being. So there's not really contrast there to know the difference. But for almost those 3 years, I never felt well. I didn't even know what was to feel well. I just knew that state of being where I was always sick. I was born with very serious respiratory problems. And then now I am in the state of absolute well being. So imagine that and I think that's part of the peace that I experience. It's like, oh, this is what it feels like being in heaven, feeling like completely well. So when I saw the body, my reaction was like, oh no, I'm not going back there. And then that's what that's the other thing, is having that clarity that I could make that decision. Like, I'm not going back there, and I'm turning around and leaving that body behind. And that's what I did. And then the moment I turned around, I started to see flowers. And the flowers were blooming from like nowhere. And now it's like how that also sense of dimension disappeared. I was picked by the flowers.
Oh.
And I'm like, but now I'm just being carried. I'm just like,
Oh my goodness.
just relaxing there. And I just say to people that it's like going back to the womb, where you don't have to do anything. You're just being carried, just being done. And then when I am in that state of like peace and joy and relaxation, and there's nothing I have to do. In just like that, I appear in the maid's room. and I'm floating like above her bed. She's listening to the radio, and I'm like, whoa, that's Maria. Nothing. And since just nothing happened with Maria, like in another blink, like I appear in my mom's path. My mom didn't have a car. And like I said, she left early in the morning. She was walking. She was close to her bus stop, and it was like probably about 10 minutes walk. And then I appear there, and I'm like, oh, that's mom. And this is, I think, what blows everybody's minds and what validates the experience. And is the moment I said, that's mom, my mom stopped. She did not give another step. She did not hesitate. She just stopped. It's like she knew immediately that something was happening at home with one of her daughters. And she turned around and started to run. And the moment I saw her, I was like, why is she running? And then, like, she just turned and started to run back home. And I just, at that moment, I kind of changed my view, and I saw a dog at the end of the road. And the moment I saw the dog, I am with the dog. And I'm like, whoa, this is kind of cool. I love animals. So it was that sense of like, now I am there. Then I turned my head and I saw a park. And the moment I felt the desire to be in the park, I am in the park. Wow. And I'm like, whoa, this is so cool. And I started to play this game of going places. So it was like all that sense of time and space as we know it just had disappeared. And now I'm just enjoying having fun. And then while I'm playing this game, like it was like in another blink, in another flash, I appear in a realm that was made of pure, bright, intense, shiny light. And it was like, imagine that it was the sense of like, this is home. It was like for those 3 years of my life, it was that sense of like, now I am finally home. And I felt, is what is home is that sense of being welcome, that sense of being embraced, the sense of belonging, the sense of like, it feels so good to be here. And then, although I had seen my body in the tank, up to this point, I didn't have the realization that that was not me. It was at this moment is that sense of like, I'm not that. I'm not that body. I am not that person. I'm not that. And when I started to have these clarities, when I realized myself as a being of light, and I started to have the sense that I was becoming part of the whole. And although I was still having a sense of self, it was like this dissolving sense. And it's so that went even further. And it's when I felt and experienced what I call nothingness. And when I say nothing, people get kind of nervous, like, what? Nothing? And I said, yeah, but it's nothing because it's nothing I knew. But at the same time, it was wholeness. So to give an analogy, it's like imagine that there's like a little tiny box in the middle of a huge stadium. And all you knew about yourself is that little box.
Oh, yeah.
And suddenly that little box opened, and now you realize it's nothing I thought, but it's all of it. So there was not even the sense that I could describe it or I could put it a color or a movement or a sound. It was just like vast expansion, totality. So the only thing I could say was a state of pure presence and just consciousness. And yeah.
So everything, it sounds like everything that you held as your identity was challenged or just vanished, and it was so much more. It's yeah, that's
You broke
amazing.
loose from a tiny little speck to vast being, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And you know, incredibly, every time that we just someone that has experienced this, every time I said, I don't have words to explain it. There's no really words. There's only experience. But through time later on in life, when I ask, why is so hard for the mind to even try to find any words to describe it? And it's when I received the message, because the mind can not understand the ways of the divine. The mind is too limited. The mind, again, is how a little box can describe the entire state of consciousness. So we can use pointers, we can use even feelings of like, oh, vastness, expansion. But what is expansion? I don't know. It's just this huge thing. So it's just that state in which you just experience, how would you say, an enormous peace, oneness, totality. Is undescribable in reality. But when I am in this state of being up there, and I say up there, being everywhere, but we can talk about this about more with others, the other experiences I have. But at that moment when I'm in this state of being, my mom finally arrived home. And the other incredible thing is that my mom knew exactly where to go. So this is one thing I have to say about my mom. She had an amazing intuition, but I also say to people, she listened to her intuition. So on top of knowing that something was happening at home, she also allowed that guidance to bring her exactly to where I was. She ran to the back of the house. I was there in the tank, and my sister, imagine the purpose of her being there was validating to my mom, Ingrid is there. And she was too little, but she was trying to get me. It's amazing she didn't fall into the tank too. And she turned and she said, Mom, Ingrid is there, and I cannot get her. My mom jumped in the tank. She got me out. She said that I was like a raggedy doll, like no breathing, no pulse. I was completely white, blue fingertips, blue lips. And then my mom started to do CPR. My mom, this is, imagine the synchronicities, the amazing things in life. My mom worked with children and she was trained to do CPR for children. I'm like, wow. So she knew what to do. And I did not feel anything she was doing. Like I said to you guys, by this point, I was completely detached from the little box. And then the only thing I felt was that, and it was horrible. It was the feeling was like I was jumping. Now I had jumped from the tallest building in the world, and it was the sense of vacuum, like, and like I was being pulled, and there was nothing I could do.
You didn't get a choice, but
No.
no one asked you. Okay.
No.
Well, earlier, um, it sounded like you felt that you had a choice whether to go back.
When you first saw your body?
You mentioned something to that effect. You saw your body and you felt like you had a choice on whether to go back or not. How at this point did you feel like it was your choice to come back?
It was not my choice. And then I love that you asked me that, because later in life, we can talk more about this, but after this experience, I started to communicate with, I describe as being so light. So through this guidance, this communication later in life, I asked them, like, what was the purpose of my near-death experience? And they said, to bring the message of the power of connection. And I said, how? Like, why? And then that will answer your question, because they said, remember when you saw your body and you left it behind? And I said, yeah, very, very, very clear. I remember that. And they said, that was a choice of your ego.
Oh. So you wanted to leave your body, but God had other plans, and so
Or the divine.
Exactly. So my ego mind was in the place of like, You know how we go where we feel comfortable and we run from where we feel discomfort. So it's just all display of contrast, display of the ego. I want this, I don't want this, but they said there was a bigger purpose. And and we made this plan all together. So it was my higher self already had this let's call it commitment, this plan, you're going to go do this. But yeah, the ego man, what we call the self with little s was like, oh no, I don't want to feel discomfort. And look at this, is so cool because they said that's the reason why you went to look for help. So imagine, even the ego was saying, I don't want to go back there. Higher self went to look for help.
Purpose.
Yeah.
To the maid and to
Why
my
you
mom.
went to your mother, yes, in spirit, and got her help.
Yes.
So there was a pre-birth plan, you're thinking.
Oh yes.
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 For you to have this near-death experience, do you think?
Yes. Yes, and to remember faster.
Yes.
Then what happened? Then I said to the beings of light, I said, okay, so if my mom was going to rescue me, why did I go to the maid's room and waste time?
Oh.
I was just trying to be clever there, asking questions, and then the beings of light. That's where we want to show you that power of connection. That's where we want to show you contrast, because the human experience is the one of contrast. And they said, what happened when you went to the maid's room? There was no connection.
Oh.
She could not hear you. There was nothing there. What happened when you went to your mom? Unconditional love. Is the proof that love doesn't have barriers. And they said, on top of that, you are the proof, the living proof that there's communication between the spirit realm and the physical realm, because you did it and you came back to tell that this is possible. And they said, look, that love, that connection with your mom made it possible that she was the one farther away. She was 10 minutes away from the house, and she was the one that listened to the call, phoned me, and saved me. The person that was few feet away could not hear. So they said, and this woman, on top of that, she mistreated us. So look what happened when there is no connection. They say when there is no connection, they will let you drown. When there's no connection, there will be war. There will be division, separation. So look at something. And that's the other thing. This is when they taught me something really important. They said it's not the experience, but the purpose behind the experience. What is all this for? So that's when we have to look the life with the eyes of the symbols behind everything. What is this for?
Like every turmoil that we go through is for a lesson, and there's a reason behind it.
Yes, exactly. So it's like we have to have the eyes. My prayer every day is not to God to change things. God, change this in my life. My prayer is, God, help me see. Help me see, because I cannot see. Help me see what this is for.
I love that.
And yeah,
I love
and
that.
from there,
Yeah, what is the purpose? What is the meaning?
Yeah.
Yes, and from there, every challenge turned into an opportunity.
A lesson to learn.
Yes, yes. So
fascinating. Yeah. I hear stories like yours, and it makes me realize that that life is more about connection and more about relationships, and it's not about work. But I'm wondering what else. I mean, what else can we do? Those who have not experienced something like this, what else can we do? Do you have any ideas? I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly the answer I'm looking for. It's just I'm a little jealous that you got to experience this something that you can almost not even comprehend. You can almost not even explain in Earth-like terms, but but it's driving you, and it's giving you this new mission to share this information and to share how we need to be connected. And and I, without being able to experience what you experience, I want to be able to take your message and somehow implement it in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing that a lot of the, let's call it teachers, spiritual teachers, and people that have been devoted or that have awakened and have been devoted to service to bring that. How can I bring this to the world? And is when we're here to offer the possibilities to, and is being taught to us through centuries how to calm the mind, how to meditate, how to use mindful, like, yeah, all these techniques of using mindfulness, of using the senses, of using the emotions, or using what is here. I love this sentence that I apply to my life every day. What is in the way is the way.
Oh.
How can use this moment, every moment, to fuel my awareness? How can I be an aware being here and now with the experiences and with the challenges and with the moments that are unfolding in front of me? And is the path of how can I be more attentive? How, and we can start little by little, just by even paying attention, walking, oh, listen to the birds, how the wind feels, how when I do my dishes and I do it in present, oh, when I drink this cup of coffee and I smell it and I experience a moment of gratitude before I drink it. See, we can be there, and we have the opportunity at every moment of our life without the need of having to have such traumatic experiences. Because when people ask me, like you said, like I'm jealous, I said, no, don't be, because experiences are extremely traumatic. I had 3 near-death experiences. The 3 very traumatic situations. And when a child has a near-death experience, it takes between 30 and 40 years to integrate the experience. It's not that easy. For an adult, it takes between 15 and 20 years. And that if you ever able to do it. And many people lose their way, they lose their even their mental capacities, the emotional way to be able to adapt and survive. So it's not that easy.
Yeah.
So I just suggest more that instead of going through the trauma way or such a difficult ways, like, what if we start really doing the work? People tell incredible experiences and results when they meditate, when they really learn to calm their mind, when they really, and when I had later in my life what I call a big awakening, because although I came back from my first near death experience with an awareness I didn't have before, it was absolutely clear. This girl, there was a before and after. Only, like I said, many years later, when I was able to integrate, I had what I call a big awakening, is when I finally, wow, got the clarities and the openness and what I needed to really bring it out. And by then I was working with, I think at the moment with NASA, and then I just thought, how can I go and tell these people how can I share all these with everyone, because now I really get it. And I said the beings of life, what can I do or say to these people? And the answer was amazing. They say, do or say nothing. They said the light of your awareness is all they need.
Wow.
What we really learn to do is to be that light, be that presence. If you feel that calmness, be the embodiment of that calmness. People ask me how I teach love, by being love. How I teach joy, by being that love. And this is the other thing, and you guys are going to find this pretty cool. Like, I ask the people, when you're not angry, how do you feel? Well, when you're not sad, how do you feel? Good. Well, good. When you're not fearful, how do you feel? good. So, what is your natural state of being? Goodness, good, well being. Learn to reconnect with that. And that's where I teach different techniques and different ways to go back and go to that place that can be really rich without having a near death experience. Yeah.
Very nice.
So many people come back and have a almost a depression period. Did you have that?
Yes, of course, because I was also too little and there was no one around me that could understand what was happening. And for many, many, many years, I wanted to go back there. So I suffered from, it was existential depression many years of my life. I wanted to die. I reached the point where I really wanted to commit suicide. And it did not have to do anything with my outer reality because I became very successful as a scientist. As a mom, I did many things. I traveled the world. I did tons of stuff, very accomplished, but it was my inner. It was the sense of I don't belong. I don't want to be here. I want to go back there. My second near that experience happened. It was even more because I'm like, I'm ready to go home. Get me out of here. Now I'm back again.
Can you tell us about that one?
This one was a motorcycle accident. It happened when I was 24 years old, and I was not wearing a helmet, just being crazy, young, and like then I was driving this bike with someone sitting behind, and I was going up a hill, and I don't even know what happened. I just lost control of the bike, and then this is the teaching in this experience, and it came very important later in my life because people ask me questions like if their loved ones suffer when they died in a horrendous accident like that. And I just have to tell you guys, even before I touched the ground, I was already out. I was already in the state of absolute peace.
Wow.
I never felt pain. I never felt fear. I never felt anxiety, anguish. It even surprised me when I am standing in the middle of the road and I'm like, there's none of it. Just that, again, that sense of peace and expansion. And I saw, and I was in the light, and I'm like, it was again that sense of home. But this was like one more step, and I am definitely at home. And then at that moment, someone picked me up from the scene of the accident. And when now I felt the touch, I got really surprised because I could not see the person that was touching the body. And I'm like, why I cannot see? Why I can see? I could see light, but I could not see this person. And when I touched my face, because I thought maybe my eyes are closed, but how can I see light? And then I realized I could not see. I had such a horrific head trauma that I had lost my vision. So I was rushed to the hospital, and then it was only through time recovering that I started to recover my vision. So now imagine the fear of like, blind now. And then, but yeah, I what happened is I hit my head so hard that what they say is that the optic nerve just had that inflammation in the brain, it just got disconnected. But I started to recover my vision, and being there in the room with the doctor, I was with my friend, the one that was with me riding the bike. Nothing happened to him. And the doctor said to me, you lost your vision the moment you hit the ground with your head. It had to be because the trauma was pretty big. And then I said, I don't think so, because I was standing in the middle of the road and I'm seeing the light and I'm feeling perfectly well. There was no pain, there was nothing. And then my friend said, no, Ingrid, it's not possible that you saw light. because the accident happened at night, and the road was pitch black. There was no light. And he said, by the way, you never stood up. So different from the first experience. In the first experience, I had the absolute awareness. I saw my body, all these. In this one, it was just, I was already out, never felt anything related. This is the other thing with me. I always was very disconnected from my body.
Mm.
From the time of my first near death, I started to have out of body experiences. So for me, it was very easy to just leave the body behind. So I was
Very
very
interesting. So, do you think that first experience helped you to realize that you are not just this? You are, and that made it somewhat easy for you to leave this? Leave your
Yes,
body?
yes, the fear of death gone. And when I was, and I'm glad you asked me that, because yeah, when I came back from my first ND, it was very hard for my parents, for everybody, because when I would look at my body, I said to my parents, I'm not this child.
Wow. That's what every parent wants to hear. What are you?
I said, yeah, and I said, this is not my name. And when I came back from this is the other thing. I felt that my parents were my equals because I experienced oneness. So what happened is that I did not have that connection with them, and I became very rebellious. So I was like, you're not going to tell me what to do. And that was so difficult. And then, but
You're
also
3
the
years
sense
old.
I'm not this child, I'm not that body. So
Boss baby.
Yeah, you are a powerful being now, and you know it. And you're 3, but you're like, no, this is not me anymore.
yes, but I didn't have the imagine the words. I didn't have, but I would look at myself in the mirror and I cried and I just said, "This is me." Then I would just, and to validate also that something really had happened and that made this child different. No longer after my ND, I could read and write. I could resolve mathematical problems. I could
Wow.
put together complex puzzles. I could paint. So this is something that was like, yeah, pretty different. And my mom, at the time, I would just say, thankfully, look at how everything was so perfect. Colombia was a country of war. Everybody was more preoccupied with the war in the country. Of course, my parents didn't have big means, so they didn't have a way to take me to specialists, a doctor. So let's wait that this girl would get better. So otherwise, I don't know what would have happened to me. But there's another thing. You guys are going to love this, and is that I started to see being so like that's the way how I started to heal. Because when I was in the worst of it, I was having these out of body experiences, and I started to see what I call being so light. And the way I started to see them was just as shiny light. And then in one of these out of body experiences, one of these beings that was shining in like gold shaped itself into a human form and touched me. And I said, oh, you are a being of light. So I just called them beings of light. And then at that, from that time, I started to feel the sense of like, oh, like well-being, like I'm not alone. And then one day I'm taking a shower because now I wanted to sleep all the time. But of course, I could not be the child that is left forever. So now balance was needed. I'm taking this shower, and then I saw a huge blue light in the bathroom. And I'm like, now the beings of light are here. And from that day on, I started to see them everywhere. And at the beginning, they didn't do or say anything, but just their presence made me feel at peace. And now I wanted to play with my sisters. I wanted to just, communicate, because I reached the point where I didn't even want to be touched. I just felt I don't want to be here. And then I could smell them, like it just smelled like flowers. I could see them, I could feel them. I could not hear. And the moment I started to hear was I was throwing a big tantrum because I was so detached from my persona that every time they call me Ingrid, I'll be like, oh, that's not my name. Then they came one night calling me for dinner, and I'm like, Ingrid, we're calling you for dinner. And I said, don't call me like that. That's not my name. And then the lady said, then how should I call you? And then I said, I do not need a name.
I'm beyond.
You peons of the earth. You need names.
Silly
So
humans.
that night they sent me to bed like, oh, no one could deal with this girl. Then I went to bed and I was crying, and it's when I heard a voice for the first time. And it was this soft, loving, compassionate voice that said, it's going to take time for them to understand that names are not needed in the realm of the light, as you already know. So it was that sense of like, oh, I'm not crazy. Now I know why I don't need a name. Of course, later I understood that names are needed in our human experience. They're beautiful, they carry energy, whatever, but they show me labels are not needed in the realm of the light. That's the reason why also for me, the way I interact, connect, communicate with the beings of light, I have never really had the need of names or form or nothing is direct. I could gather with like hundreds and thousands of beings of light, and they didn't even need to have any shape. I knew who was talking. I knew from where the communication was coming. So it was just incredible. And yeah, that they also told me that day and through time that all the experiences I was having and the ones I was going to have were all to share one day. At that time, they say will come later. And when they said don't share because they're not going to understand, for me, imagine it was like, what is not to understand? What are you talking about? And then, yeah, pretty soon I realized, yeah, people don't really understand anything that I was trying to convey. And they were like, you're dreaming, you're making stories, you have an amazing imagination. But they said there will be people in your path that would teach you and guide you. And thankfully, one of that, one of the first person that was there to validate everything was my mom. And the way it was, and this is what I said, you guys are going to love it. I started to see what I call spirits when I was 6. And when I was 5, it was started in school because I now joined kindergarten. And then I was painting beings of light everywhere. Because the beings of light said, don't talk about us, but they didn't say don't paint. Beings of light everywhere, and the teacher is like, are these like the sun, the stars? And I'm like, no, these are my friends, the beings of light. And he's like, the teacher, like, oh, I better call your parents. She's having imaginary friends. So my mom came to school. She showed all the pictures, and it's when they also discovered that I could see auras because all the pictures have auras. And then my mom was very quiet. She knew this stuff. She's like, and she told the teacher, no, nothing is happening. This is just a phase. We will work it. And then we left, and I was really sad because I thought nobody believed me. And it's when my mom said, I believe you. Because I also can see things that others can't.
Oh, wow.
And it's when my mom confessed to me she could see spirits. And then, but she validated again the being so like saying, don't talk to anybody. They're not going to understand. They're going to think you're crazy. So now that reinforced I should not talk. And then when I started to see spirits at the age of 6, is when I went to my mom. It was the first experience. It was pretty scary. By the way, I wrote a book, and if I tell the story, it's too long, but it's all written there. But I went to my mom and I said, Mom, no. the spirits and the beings of light are not the same. So see, little by little, I started to make sense and understand things little by little. But it's when my mom said, "Explain," then explain. She thought we were seeing the same thing, and I said no. And then I think the reason was because I was seeing light. No, but this will explain everything. It's when my mom said, "I think they're angels." Then I said, "No, Mom, I don't think they're angels because they don't have wings." See, so because I never say I see beings with wings or stuff. No, I was. So my mom was like, "No, they have to be your guardian angels," and she's crying. She's like, "This is incredible." So because I already was talking to the beings of light, I asked them. So first I asked, "What is with these dark spirits?" I call them like that because they cause me fear. And I thought the answer was going to be like, "Yeah, they are different." No, it was incredible because they said that you call spirits, you as in essence, we're all the same. The difference is how conscious, how aware you are about who you truly are. And they said the problem is that there's beings that are very attached to the matters of the world and they have forgotten who they truly are. So they stay attached and connected to the physical world.
The
And that's
spirits
what we
do?
call, yes, that's what
Oh.
we call the spirits. And they said, but there's people like you and there's beings that are able to guide them to remember. So that was incredible. And then I asked them too, like I said, my mom said that you're angels. Is that what you are? And the answer was incredible because they said to me, we are what you want us to be. So it's like that, how compassionate is the universe. It just manifests to us in the way that I always say it's like a dance with life. We go through all these experiences and we're able to bring them here too. Another thing, I told the beings, so I asked many, many years later, I asked why my ND happened, the first one, when I was so young. And they said, because you were old enough to remember, but young enough not to be conditioned yet.
Oh. That was a question of mine, that it happened so young. I was like,
yeah,
and you
yes.
needed all that time to take it and translate
Process
it into process it into how you're going to show the world these lessons.
And the other thing that helped me process and understand is the other thing that was incredible in my life, and is that the other person there to guide me that started my path of really going deep, really going to where I needed to go, was my grandmother, because she guided me through the path of spirituality. See, because these experiences don't bring you to spiritual, it just can stay in the surface, in the experience, if we don't go deeper. So my grandmother was the one that started to bring me to the inner, bring me to the spiritual path. And she taught me how to meditate. I started to meditate when I was 8 years old. And she started to bring the books. And by age 9, I was reading books like the Bhagavad Gita. I was already exploring. I was reading books while other kids are playing and having fun with other things. I'm reading books of discernment, self-realization.
Wow.
And so I was in another world. So on top of having these experiences, now I could have the depthness to go deep within and start establishing a deeper connection. Yeah.
Beautiful.
It is. Yeah. I heard that you met the Dalai Lama. I would love to hear about that.
Yes, and that was something that was incredible because, and that was exactly the time in my life where I was going through, let's call it a very, very deep depression. I was being challenged within myself because the first 19 years of my life, I was very in depth into spirituality, but very disconnected from the human world, from people, it was more like I was pretty much I would just say like I was like a helium balloon that I needed to anchor. So I picked a career science that brought me to anchor. But through time, from 19, I asked the beings of light. There's so much to talk about that, but I pretty much like I need to go be a human or I cannot be here, pretty much. So it was like I started to be more of the moment what I was doing, my career, become very busy. But through time, I realized that I have become very disconnected, very, very distracted, very, very in the, again, the outer and the things of life and the routines. And it's when I'm like, it just felt this almost melancholic, very, very sad feeling within. And I was, it was crazy because at that moment I was a very successful career, but at the same time very empty inside. And I had the possibility to go to Singapore, where I met this lady that she was very spiritual, and she's like, I'm going to go meet the Dalai Lama next year or in a couple of months. You want to come with me? And I'm like, what? Of course. I've been wanting to meet him since I was a child. And then I ended up in Dharamsala, India, receiving his teachings. And when I'm there with him, I'm holding his hand. And it's when I realized I'm looking, like I said, the library of my mind. What can I tell him? What can I tell him? Blah, 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 blah. And it's when I immediately said to myself, just calm down. Just shut up. Stop it.
Just
be in the moment.
Just be in the moment.
Yes.
And I'm like, for like one moment, I'm like, and then that was the experience. I traveled somewhere around India and all that. And then when I went home, I experienced the deepest depression of my life, because it was that even deeper realization how disconnected I have become. And then it was when, yeah, my path just really opened to go and find my deeper truths. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was an incredible experience. Yeah.
It sounded transformative.
And with this is what I after this is what I experienced, what I call the dark night of the soul. I had a night where I thought, this is it, I'm going to leave, because my sense of always wanting to be there was not resolved. I was still thinking I had to go somewhere, which is incredible, because from a very early age, the beings of light were already showing me that home was not a place, was a state of being, but I could not really. One thing was, is how things come to our head like information, and one other thing is really experiencing that. So my sense was, I felt so good out there, I want to be out there. And the way in which I finally resolved that was because I had a third near-death experience.
Wow. I'd love to hear it.
And what happened, this happened during a surgery.
Mm.
And during this surgery, I had, even before the surgery, I told the doctors that something was going to happen. So for that, I had to even be guided to the right doctors. So I told the doctor, you have to monitor my blood pressure. You have to. And she called the anesthesiologist, because I said, I'm very sensitive to general anesthesia. You have to do this. Okay, I was just so on it that they were really monitoring my blood pressure closely. And throughout the surgery, my blood pressure dropped to the ground. And my body went into hypothermia. And when all this is happening to the body, I entered that realm of the light again. And I'm like, again, is that feeling of like absolute expansion, the sense of home. And this is the first time that I heard, like you already guys know, that in the first two experiences, I was never asked. I was just, I was sent back. This is the first time that I was asked, you want to stay or you want to go?
man.
And that was incredible now to have this ability to really choose. And then when I am out there and they say, you want to stay, I just felt again. Imagine like being like in a 10 diamond resort, like it's just like, wow. And it feels this expansive feeling. And then when I heard, or you want to go back, the moment I heard these words, I said, wait a minute, is this a test?
Mm.
Because I've been for so many years, and since I had what I call the big awakening, it had been 12 years before this experience, that I've been working with so much awareness, presence, consciousness, mindfulness, being there. And then now I am aware of this. Now it's not the little self, is like, wait a minute, is this a test? But this is the other thing. It was the sense no one is testing me.
Oh,
We're
it's
part
you.
of the whole thing. Exactly. It's like, what is going on?
You
So
finally
I
realized
said,
that you're the one in control.
exactly. And I said, wait. If God is absolutely everything, and God is absolutely everywhere, so there is not here and there is not there.
Mm.
There is wholeness. There is only here and now. And then at that moment, the only thing I thought about saying was, keep me where I can serve God the most. So, but it was that absolute clarity. And now is that teaching of that now was experience the kingdom of heaven. I don't need to go anywhere. I'm already there.
Wow.
And then I have this clarity. If I'm able to resolve myself, the exterior is not it. If I'm able to really be wherever I am and whatever form I have, in the connection and being the consciousness, the light consciousness I am, it doesn't matter. So this is another incredible thing. When I was in that state of being, for there was nothing in my mind about how to spend this. There's no judgment. There's not at that moment. You don't have any attachment. You're not thinking, my son, my husband, my family. You know that everything is all right, and that everybody's having the experiences that they need in order to awaken.
Wow.
In order to reconnect. And so you're not even thinking in the collective, you're not even thinking in the, you know, everything is happening according to an order. And then for me, it was okay in the sense of the ego, like I said to you, because there's not that aspect. I didn't think I have to go back, my family, my son, my life, nothing.
Mm.
But the moment I said, keep me where I can serve God the most, I needed an anchor. And was at that moment that I felt, my son, my husband, my family, the service I'm doing, the work, blah, and all that anchor me back.
Wow.
And when I am back, it was just this complete clarity of, it's not about near-death experience. It's about near-life experience. It's about living. It's about taking this opportunity of contrast to remember who I am.
Wow. I love that.
So as soon as you said where I'm needed most, what happened? Did you just immediately go back?
I was, it's like I was back. I was pulled by all those emotions, and now I was.
Those were like brought to you or shown to you.
Yeah.
Once you said, where will I serve you the most? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And when I woke up in the in the body, I woke up in the recovery room and I was shaking, uncontrollable, like my body. And I was wrapped in this blanket that was plugged to electricity because my body could not heat it. It could not gain heat. But now I was, so now it's all a part of the body and all that. But I was in that state of that.
But it totally transformed your perspective on life after that, it sounds like.
Yes, completely. And now it was clear I don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to go anywhere. And for me, it has been the most incredible time. I had to be here for so many years to now finally realize this is not about dying, it's about living. It's about
It only
living.
took you 3 near-death experiences.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
It's amazing. And it's been amazing because now it's bringing even more and more and more and more of these clarities, having these opportunities to just be with people and just share this light. And the other thing is, like, even before this ND, I had other profound clarities. Like when I had my big awakening was incredibly going to ask help to a psychologist, and then through just all this therapy, realizing one day he asked me to write a whole list of sufferings, and then I wrote the list. I'm like, oh God, writing our sufferings. When he read the list, he said, I've never met anyone in my 37 years of practice that has suffered this much and is mentally stable. Because those experiences are very traumatic. So then he just, at the moment I said, whoa, I didn't think I was the one that suffered the most of anything. And then I just asked him, I always have had these questions since I was little. Why me? Why me? And then he gave me the answer that I needed at that moment. I said, it's the answer that turned the light on at that moment when I had that awakening. He said, why not? He said, look, thanks to this, you've done this, thanks to this, you've done that, and thanks to this, and that. And I'm like, oh. So when I started to see purpose behind everything. And it's when I realized nothing ever happened to me. It happened for me.
So that you can learn and be who you are today and share your story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Touch
I
lives.
said 3 miracles happened that day. That was the first one, the realization, all this is for me and for all of us. And the second was the realization, all of it is in my head. And I can decide what to do with it. My only truth at that moment is that I am sitting in front of this doctor talking. The rest is in my head. Imagine the sense of inner power. I can do whatever I want with what is in my head. It's just a change in perception. Right. And the last thing was discovering forgiveness, true forgiveness. And it was that sense when I knew everything had happened, for me was that sense of this deep, deep appreciation, this deep gratitude, even for things that I consider the most horrendous. Even I had experiences where I almost was raped and murdered, all kind of stuff. And how can I be even see purpose behind this? And there was purpose behind everything. Wow. And then Adam, again, this doesn't make the people that committed these crimes not to have to respond for their actions or anything like that. But it was what is in my person, what is in me that brought me to change. And it said, all this made me more compassionate, more empathic, more open, more loving, more caring. And then at that moment, I'm like, wow, in reality, there is nothing to forgive. Because if you feel that everything happened for you, what is to forgive?
Because it was a gift in a way, if you would look at it that way.
Exactly. So I always could say two things. Everything was forgiven, or there was nothing to forgive.
Wow.
Very
It's a
nice.
great perspective.
I do think it's I do think it's interesting that you chose a career of science. I am interested to get your perspective on science and technology. I feel that, well, as an engineer, I have an engineer background. I feel that the more I learn about science and technology and the more I use it, I do feel it pulls me to the other end of the spectrum away from spirituality. And I'm wondering, is it just that we now, moving forward into a world that becomes more technical, do we now just need to be more deliberate about tapping into the spiritual world? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Incredibly, I love this because I always say to people, this is beautiful because I was a spiritual before being scientist. See, I was already, many people have suffered the transformation later. I was already in the spiritual path before I decided to become a scientist. And what this brought me to realize through time is that science and spirituality go together. Because in reality, everything is a manifestation of consciousness.
Mm.
Everything in reality is, how to say this, an expression of source.
Mm.
So I just say to people, in reality, spirituality is science. So if you see it from this angle, I said to be spiritual, you're actually applying the scientific method. Otherwise, it's not a spirituality, it's belief or it's dogma. Why I say this? Because I give you an analogy. Imagine that there is a sky. You see above and the sky is completely covered with clouds. And I come and tell you, beyond those clouds, there's a blue sky. And you can make the choice to believe me blindly. Now that's dogma. Or you can use that belief and say, you know what? I'm going to now create an hypothesis, or I'm going to write this problem, and I'm going to build me an airplane, and I'm going to prove if that Ingrid is saying is true or not. That's why when people are afraid of doubt, I say, don't. Become the explorer. Do it yourself. Go there. Dare to do it. And then now you build your airplane with all that knowledge that you have of being an engineer and all that. And then now you experience it yourself and you fly and you cross those clouds and you just get there and like, whoa, that's true. So now you have an answer, you compare. And now I said, you did science, you apply the scientific method.
So it's just a perspective that they're opposite ends of the spectrum. There's no reason for them to be considered opposite ends of the spectrum. It's it sounds like what you're saying, if I'm understanding it correctly, is it's it's just all one.
All one.
It's all connected. It's all part of that realm of light, I guess.
Yes, since I was very little, when the beings of light said to me, people ask me, how you know these beings are not like the evil thing, some weird stuff talking to you nonsense or whatever. And I said, because since I was very, very little, they said to me exactly that. They said, do not believe in anything we said. Experience it yourself.
Oh.
Wow.
They were always guiding me to look within. So if any being in any realm, a teacher, a guru, a master, physical or spiritual realm, guide you to look within, to experience it yourself, that's the true guidance. If any teacher, master, guru, spirit tells you, I am your guru, run.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always just look
Yes.
within.
Yeah, look within.
Look within. So imagine, I became this scientist. I'm doing these incredible projects, always guided. How can I develop projects, do things when things come from that place of connection with the creative thinking of the universe, the intelligent heart, not the ego? Because with the ego, we can do disasters. But at the end, the disasters, if this is going to finally bring us to shake us hard and say, look what you did, oh, geez, it's bringing you to wake up, then you chose the path of being hard instead of being wise. But there's always the longer or the shorter or the wise or the ignorant path. But imagine that now you just started to create projects, do things that come from that connection. So I was working with projects where, despite being a scientist, I was teaching people how to use our resources in in a way that they could be managed intelligently, wisely. I was teaching people to never, when they're saying don't do, don't touch, you cannot use this resource. It was like, how can we one with nature? How can we remember we are nature, no matter what you're doing? So that is the power of the awakened being. And awakened being is not the one now that goes to the cave. That was the way in which the original teachers, they
sit and meditate.
how can we bring this to humanity? Now is be that no matter where you are. Be that light. When I ask the beings of light, what is purpose and what is mission? They say purpose is to remember that you are the light of consciousness. And mission is to shine that light wherever you are. So if you're an engineer, do it from that place of connection. So you're going to create things for really the purpose of, oh God, creating good for this planet, sustaining, creating better foods, better ways of use the resources or recycle or whatever it is. How can we use the skills that we have in a way that comes from that place of authenticity, of goodness, of connection, of I'm doing this for my own good or for the good of the world, for the good of the planet. I am acting as a separate individual egoistic being, or I am working in connection. See,
Nice.
that's the place. And this is the reason why nowadays you think about it, more and more people from all different professions, careers, cultures, all over the world are starting to wake up and use that spirituality wherever they are. Doctors, psychologists, engineers, mothers, fathers, it doesn't matter wherever, because before it was the idea, no, it's the lady or the one in the cave somewhere or the lady with the bow.
Right.
Now it's like, no, being spiritual is going and touch that place of authenticity, is going to the root that you are, is connecting with the true thinking, the creative thinking of the universe, and work in community and work in connection and work for the good of all.
Right. It does feel like the world is becoming more open to hearing about these experiences.
I think so.
I don't know if that's just my perception, but it does seem that more people are sharing and more people are listening, and there's more of this, you know, I guess more minds being opened to the ideas uh, of a greater consciousness.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was what the beings of light showed me when I was a child, and they showed me the future. They said this will happen, and I was little, and I was like thinking, oh gosh, there's a lot of road to go. And the next time they told me this, I was 19 years old, and they said in 20 years you will understand. In 20 years that this change will happen. And then
Yeah,
I was
it does.
counting the days of thinking that 20 years passed.
And now it's here. Yeah, I believe that the world is opening up their minds to more of this spirituality and getting in touch with their selves and others, the unity, the feeling of unity. Yeah.
And if you think about it, why there's more turmoil? Because many people will say also, but no, there's a lot of turmoil, a lot of war, a lot of separation. And because what is that brings you there to really ask the deep questions, to being shaken pretty hard. I said, people, if you're in your couch, comfortable watching TV and nothing is happening, then you don't need to move.
Right.
Why?
It
But
takes
when you're
turmoil
being,
in your life
yes,
to
pretty
wake you
hard,
up.
yes, when you say, and then you start asking, why this, why me, why this is happening, why the world is like this. So I said, for a little plant to come out of the shell has to crack open.
Mhm.
And now we say, why is this happening? We don't say, why is it happening to me? We say, why is this happening for me? Because it's a gift. We have to look at it that way. We understand now. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that perspective.
So a few times through our conversation, you alluded to helping people, I think, to meditate and to get in touch with this, I guess, their higher consciousness. Can you elaborate on that a little more? Like how you can help people, and maybe how they can get in touch with you, or because I'm sure people are going to listen to this and they're going to want to know how to be more aware and how to tap into this.
Yes, yes. I do a lot of mentorings and coaching and one-on-ones, and I guide people to reconnect with the truth that they are and work with it. Since I come from a background of a lot of trauma, I've been also studying, of course, a lot more, and I did a 2-year program to get certified as a mindfulness teacher, and then plus my own experience and gathering all this path of doing it. I teach to people what have worked for me and what have worked for the ones that I have. We help each other, and it's like, oh, this works. So there's a lot of techniques of learning to quiet the mind, learning to work with gratitude. It's incredible. I teach very powerful techniques of very simple. I also, everything I teach and share is very simple because we're already so busy. We already have so much in our agenda that if you try to add one more thing, people get overwhelmed.
Can you give us a
So,
little example of a simple technique we might take away from this and
yeah,
try tonight?
you can even try it now. I said to people, what do you do when you are heating the water for your coffee? When you're heating the water for your tea? No, nothing. It's just so short of a time. One conscious breath. I said, can you do that? One conscious breath? Is that taken from your day? No. One conscious breath. Awesome. And every time you do one conscious breath, what you do is that you bring that moment of calmness, stillness with awareness. It requires intention, presence, and it feels good. So now your system is like, and if you do a side, what are you doing? You're self-regulating your nervous system.
I
And
love
if you
that.
put your hand at that moment, even more. People think that when they get scared and they scream or they do this, it's just because you do this. No, that's a way in which the nervous system self-regulate itself when you do this. The touch is very, very important. If you don't touch a baby, the baby dies. Oh. This is the way in which we help ourselves start nurturing ourselves. I am here. One conscious breath. Do what it does. Imagine I said to people that you go, how many times you go to the bathroom during the day? And at that moment, you're not thinking, I'm going to the bathroom myself or my purse, my everything. No, you just go to the bathroom. Go consciously. More steps. Be present. Another conscious breath. When you flush the toilet, I even teach funny stuff, flush and all your stuff is going there.
Oh, I like that. all the negative.
Yeah, things like that, very simple. Put your foot when you open the door of your car and you just touch the ground. And if there's birds singing out there, listen. Very short, like that. And what you're doing is that because our system is used to work from cortisol, hormones of stress, worry, what is next, what is next, what is next.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you introduce that pause, that moment of stillness, that breath, you're introducing hormones of well-being, endorphins, serotonin. And what you do, the more you do this, you start using the neuroplasticity to create new pathways, to start telling to your subconscious mind, this actually feels good. What about we do more of this, more of this? And then you start changing the chemistry, the physiology, the biology, because what happens when there's too much cortisol in the body, there's inflammation. When there's inflammation, imagine there's no good digestion, the organs are not working good. Then now is the problems of like heart and kidneys and processing the food well, etc. Imagine you start introducing that pause, one moment of just tranquility. And I said to people using practices of gratitude. Another practice I teach is like, say you're driving in your car. What else you do in driving? There's nothing else you can do. Drive. So at that moment you're driving, I said to people, write at least one thing, two things that you feel great about. And when you catch yourself, have the intention, play this game in the car. Every time you catch yourself thinking negative, bring that feeling that is visceral, something makes you feel good. That cup of tea I drink in the morning, oh God, that coffee, oh, that was so good. Oh, my bed, that was so warm. Oh, that shower was incredible. Because what happened when you do that, again, hormones of well-being. It's like eating a chocolate. You're giving goodness to the system. And when you do that, you self-regulate your system. And at that moment, you're experiencing high vibration and gratitude. Imagine feeling all the things that make you feel great, create a feeling of gratitude. Gratitude is the highest vibrational frequency there is. When you vibrate high, you elevate your being, and you're going to also meet things in life that vibrate at that level. It's all physics. You are engineers, all about resonance. You meet things at the level that you are. And then why don't I mention love? Because people say, isn't it love the highest vibrational frequency there is? And I said, yes. We're just playing a little trick here for the mind. What happened is that what makes you feel great? What are the things that make you feel incredibly good? The things that you love. So in reality, gratitude and love are synonyms.
Beautiful.
But why I didn't mention love first? Because love has been very conditioned, very tainted. It's a word that people, I don't know if I have ever even loved or if I ever been loved. I don't know love, but everybody knows appreciation and gratitude. I have met hundreds of people, and I can, even if we have to dig deep, everybody has been someone grateful for a glass of water, for a warm blanket when they were cold, for a plate of food, for a laugh, for a hug, for something. So we know gratitude. But now I want you to know that gratitude comes from love.
Very nice.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Great perspective.
Yeah. So you want to start knowing love from within, just be more present. Give yourself that possibility to breathe deep, to do practices of gratitude. And I have many more practices where I teach people to work directly with their emotions. I teach people to nurture themselves, to know love from within, practices of embodiment. And all these practices help people that also have experienced trauma. So, but it's a very gentle work. It has to be done with a lot of it's called gentleness, with going slow, and especially for people that have been involved in a lot of trauma.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I already feel more
I
peaceful
know,
just
me
you
too.
explaining this process to
I
me.
know.
It's very nice. You have beautiful energy.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too.
So how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, I have my website that is ingridhonkala.com. I also all the different media outlets, and I have a newsletter where I share all the different things I'm doing out there, talks and mentorings, one-on-ones in my website. People can find a way to connect for these one-on-ones, and I do retreats too. Next year, I'm about to in April. I'm going to do. I've been invited to do a retreat in Spain, so that one will be in Spanish. I hope that
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I might see you there. I was actually planning to go to Spain in April.
Wow.
Wow.
That is funny.
That's crazy.
That's good, and I've been
The
invited.
vibrations are matching. Wow.
That's good to give a talk in Madrid and possibly give a talk in London and another one in Barcelona. So I'm organizing things. I'm like, if I'm going to be in Spain, I might as well.
Wow. Sounds like you're
Beautiful.
going to be there a while. Yeah. Well, we can put all the links to your website and everything down below in the description box. And we're just so honored to have you on our show. And it was so great to meet you. I had one other question. I heard that you could read auras. You could see auras. Can you see it through video chat?
Of course, I've been seeing your auras all the time.
Well, what color? Well, I don't know even what to ask.
It's very, very beautiful.
Oh.
And I see as we talk, and when you say, I feel more calm, it's just the aura is already manifesting that. And I could see how, the colors in your aura, Kate, is like, I see a lot of yellow, and I see a lot of pink. And there's also a lot of, like, we're talking, so there's anticipation. The aura has the way in which whatever you express is expressed.
What you're feeling at the moment.
Yes, but it also has its signature.
Oh.
So it's good to see how, as we talk, this is changes, but it also has its signature colors. You have a lot of blue in your aura. Blue. It has a lot of pink too, and I see in both. There's the purple, which is transformation. Through experience, and when I see the blue is like. The power to heal through communication. So incredibly is present there. You guys doing this. We're working, you're opening, creating this channel, and I see how the blue is
nice.
shining.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing that.
I see also some gold, which is wisdom. So it's beautiful, yes, as we talk.
Is it easy to clarify which one is which, or since we're together, it's easy?
Oh no, each one has its own, but of course, as we are there, you can
synergistic as well.
Wow.
I guess.
Yeah, but each one has its own.
Interesting.
Like with the body, we have with the auras the same thing. You have your own color shining.
Well, what color is your aura, or can you see your own?
Oh yeah, I can see my aura too. And same thing as you guys. It has its own signature, but it expands to us as we. The more we vibrate higher, say we more open, more quiet in the mind, the more expanded the aura becomes. When we are too worried, when we're too, then it just continues.
So during conversations, you might see it.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yes, you don't imagine when we have the one-on-ones, and it's like just I see the people with the anxiety, sadness, whatever, and as we talk or as the conversation goes, and it's incredibly beautiful how.
Wow.
Oh wow.
You see this expansive now, and I could even see the moments in which the person is sensing the change, and the person doesn't even need to say it. I'm just already like, this is so beautiful.
Wow, that is so amazing. That is.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to have you on as our first guest. It's like
Yeah.
amazing. We're
It's
so
been a real
honored.
pleasure.
It has.
Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me here. This has just been an honor.
It's been a transformative experience for me. I know. Just talking to you.
Yes, me as well. You have beautiful energy, and we would love to have you on our show again sometime in the future.
Yes.
Oh, I will be honored. Yes,
Okay.
anytime.
Okay. Well,
All right.
thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.
Okay. Bye
You
bye.
guys take care. Bye.
And we'll cut the recording there. But I just wanted to say, again, thank you, Ingrid.
Yes.
Yeah, you're really a beautiful spirit, and so nice to spend time with you.
Yeah.
No, this has been so good. Yeah, it's like
You have so many stories, so much to tell that you haven't even gotten around to. I was like,
I
we could
know.
sit and talk to you for 5 hours.
I
It's
know.
just amazing.
It's like,
Your life has been amazing.
oh, it's sometimes I just feel this sense of like, oh, how many lives I have.
You're like, yeah, you've lived what most people would live in 10 years. You've lived it in your amount of, like you've lived in your 10 years of your life would be like 5 lifetimes of someone else's life. You've
And
been through a
even
lot.
though you've been through all of this, it sounds like a bit of a roller coaster, but so much learning experiences, and the way you share your information is very calming. And
Yes,
and I've felt, like I said, that my engineering side versus my spirituality side, I feel like they're different ends of the spectrum, but you helped me to kind of have a different perspective on that, and I appreciate that. It's really nice.
Yes, and imagine that everything is. This is what I say to people. Everything, when the being, so like I said, your purpose is to be the light, and your mission is to shine it in whatever you do. So imagine that you as an engineer are able to do things that are done for the good of humanity. Everything is an expression and a manifestation of consciousness.
Yeah.
And if you're doing through that place of connection, it doesn't matter what you are. The outer is not what matters. It's the inner. How you are creating that expression of the divine through you. How you are being a being of service. So through you, you're going to be that outlet. You're going to be that beacon of light too. And it doesn't matter. People say, do I have to leave my family? Do I have to leave my job? And I said, no. Shine that light wherever you are. And if your vibrational frequency and state of being bring you to now change careers or do something, it will happen.
Right. Yeah, it almost sounds like we overcomplicate what needs to happen. And the way you explain it, it's like, it's not complicated.
No.
It's just a matter of letting the complication drop away and just being and experiencing, and it's just a really beautiful perspective. I love it.
Yeah, so many near-death experiencers say that when they go to the other side, they find out that it's not about anything that we thought it was about. Like life on Earth is all about a learning experience. It's not about making money and making accomplishments, and it's just about what you learned while you were here. That's all it really was.
Exactly. And nowadays, even for me, it's like, you know how I thought about dying for all my life, and then now it's like, no, I cannot die yet because this is my greatest opportunity. Here is where I have to finish correcting myself, discovering all the things I have not discovered about me, peeling all the layers, being the best version of this expression of consciousness. How can I be the light? How can I shine that light? And I said, no, this is my time, my opportunity to be the diamond that all of us need to shine it, but how? Through awareness. And those are the techniques I teach, how to become aware, how to become through everything. I said, what is in the way is the way, through your senses, through your emotions, through your experiences, how to touch the core of your being through your daily life.
Nice.
So if there's a traffic jam, you're like, what? This is in my way. But then you're like, I can change my perspective on this and think, oh, this is giving me time to think about things because I'm not going to get there anytime sooner. So, like, might as well think about things. Just change the perspective on the negative to appreciate them
That's
and turn them
beautiful.
into
And I said,
positives.
yes. And said, relax, relax, relax. And the other thing I said, if there's an emotion, I don't push it away. I said, anger, for example, is in the traffic jam. I do, anger, anger, anger. Why are you here?
Yeah.
Show me. What are you showing me that I haven't seen?
Right.
And what is this anger in my body?
Yeah.
That's a practice of embodiment. That anger is in my chest.
Mm.
I put my hands and I self-regulate my system. How can I be present for this anger? And it dissipates.
Yeah.
See, so now
Right.
it is showing me
Yeah.
that I have the power to be the master of my emotions.
So don't dismiss it.
And
Say,
then
why are you
don't fight
here?
it. Just
Why are you
accept
here?
it, process it, let it
Yeah.
just come
What
and
are you
go, come and
teaching
go,
me?
come
What are
and
you
go, I
teaching me?
guess.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when people ask what surrender is, they try to make it very complicated. You know, I love this sentence that says, God is simple, the rest is complicated. It's because of that. Imagine that
Yeah.
you say, instead of like, oh, this anger, this in my life, surrender is like, is what is happening at the moment. Sadness, sadness. I am overwhelmed right now. Overwhelmed. Can I be with this? That's what become one of my most powerful sentences. Can I be with this?
Nice.
I said, wow, as a matter of fact, I can. Where is it in my body? Right here, right here, right here. With tense, like, oh, it's right here, right now. And then you put your hand and like, the moment you nurture yourself, you start knowing love from within, the true love.
Oh, I love that.
Which is that presence,
Right,
which is
right.
I'm here, which is I'm listening. And then that energy of anger or that sadness or that fear transform into presence. See, you're fueling.
Right.
So you can use anything to fuel your awareness. And then at that moment, nothing is seen as wrong because being angry is wrong. No, anger is an initiatory force. And if you, that is the practice of surrender. Anger, anger, anger. Can I be with this? Where is it? Here. And you nurture it now. You connect instead of reacting. Now you connect with the heart, the intelligence of the heart, the wisdom. And in terms of biology, is when the cerebral cortex is able to embrace the wholeness of you, and you use your mindfulness, you use your response, you use your capacity to be response able.
Yes.
And then at that moment, you generate an answer. See, so that incredibly, that anger was the fuel for you to make the right answer for something instead of reacting.
Nice.
You need that pause. You need that surrender to the moment. And the more you do it, it's not a practice that has to be, oh God, surrender to the moment. I'm angry 3 hours. No, it's now. The more you practice, it can happen right now, at the spot. People are telling me something and I'm like, can I be with this in my mind? As a matter of fact, I can. Where does it feel? Oh, right here. Whoa. And now I am connected.
Very nice.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yes, and we become powerful beings. That's the true power. We become the creators of our reality. When we don't work from that place, we're the puppets of the reality. Because we're the puppets of the narrative. We're the puppets of life. The moment you're able to pause, be still, connect with inner guidance, you become the creator.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rewatch this over and over because there are so many lessons.
Yeah, so much great stuff.
Yeah, it's been so amazing. I can't get over it. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. This is awesome.
Yeah, so we'll let you know when we air this, and let's definitely stay in touch.
Yes, definitely, and we can go do another episode or something.
Yeah.
I can even do like a I teach people really short meditations. I
Oh.
teach people to meditate like a dolphin, to meditate like a
Wow.
mountain, like the wind, like the sky.
Oh.
We could do an episode on where you
Yeah, different focuses.
teaching us a meditation.
Right.
Yeah. So people just learn that, hey, I can be right here in front of my computer and I don't have to create a whole thing with candles or you're right
Right.
here and now.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was more your, kind of your story, and we have another one's focused. It's very practical here. Just play this and go ahead and go into the process. And yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah,
That's
that
great.
would be awesome.
Yeah. So this all the and this is good because and the work you guys are doing, that all of us are doing at the level that we're doing it is how can we bring more consciousness
Yes.
to the world?
Exactly.
How we can help each other to be more act from the place of responding and not reacting and
Right.
creating more
Right.
damage
The more
to
we
each
all
other.
do this, the more beautiful the world is.
Exactly.
It's just,
Spread the word
yeah.
and the spirituality and
Yeah.
to attach ourselves to our higher consciousness to it's
Yeah.
really enlightening.
Yeah, makes life more enjoyable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember that we are the higher consciousness.
We are. We need to
We
yeah.
are.
We're not little
Yeah.
beings. We are the whole being.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
we play little, like when the ego in my experience said, I don't know, going back to that
Right.
body, because the ego is just the part of like, I'm feeling good or I'm feeling bad. If this doesn't, oh no. When, like, no, there's a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
And that doesn't involve the needs of the ego.
right.
Well, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and we'll be in touch, Ingrid.
Yes, thank you
Yes,
so
you
much. It was
too.
so nice to meet you.
Yeah.
It was very nice meeting you too.
Okay,
Okay,
take care.
bye-bye.
Bye bye.